everybody. My name is Ilse and this is hobbykr. Welcome to the third episode of Drawing Genshin Characters Working Real Jobs. In the last episode, I drew Ayato and Jet, and in the first episode, I drew Mona and Raiden Shogun. If you want to check out those episodes, there's a playlist in the description. And in this episode, we're going to be doing Barbara and Yanfei because they were the two that won in the poll I did in my community tab the day I checked it. I'm not sure if it's different today, but I will link the poll for the next episode in this episode, and you can vote and see if the characters that you want can make it to the next episode. So yeah, make sure to check that in the description. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get started with today's drawings. So for Barbara, I knew that I definitely had to do something musical because obviously like her job is idol, and still I didn't want to do something too generic. I didn't want to make like a straight up idol because I feel like that's not very interesting. So I thought Barbara is obviously a nun as well, and there's many churches that do kind of like sung services, like they sing. When I was in university, I used to work in a theater, and on Sundays there was this church that would have services in our theater, and they had like the most elaborate, intense band. Honestly, they were amazing musicians, and they were all very young, and you know, the music was very, very like current. I think it was a Hillsong church. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember quite well, but they really had like a high production thing. So I thought, you know, Barbara might be like a youth minister or someone involved in the church who sings in services like these, you know, because she is a performer, she is an idol. So that's kind of like the concept that I came up with. I kind of modernized her design a bit. Like I changed up her dress and stuff to make it look less video gamey and more like something she would actually wear in real life. And then I watched a few Hillsong music videos actually to see kind of like how they sing. And in these services and stuff, they always look very like passionate. I'm not sure how to describe it. I'm not religious at all, so I don't know if there's like terminology for it, but they just look really into the music, and they kind of raise their hands in praise, I'm assuming, and stuff. So I kind of wanted to give Barbara that kind of pose. And although I felt like the drawing again came out a bit stiff, I do think that like my idea came through in the end, and I'm quite happy with the result of my concept for Barbara. The hands really gave me a challenge in this drawing. I just really couldn't get them to come out right. And I had a reference, like I was looking at the reference and I just couldn't for the life of me make it look like right. It really wasn't going my way this time around. So unfortunately, yeah, like I said, it's not my favorite drawing that I've ever done, but I think it came out fairly well. And I had a lot of fun drawing the mic. I love drawing objects, and I feel like they're really simple and they really add like a nice touch to the drawing. And if you're wondering what the lines at the back are, they are perspective lines because I knew I wanted to make a background. So I decided to create some perspective lines to help me with the stage. So usually like these services are done in stages. I'll be putting some reference pictures, and I wanted to create something similar where you could see like the song, there was a background for the song, and there were different types of colored lights and stuff. So yeah, but for now I'll keep showing you the coloring process. Okay, so I'm gonna start working on the background. I just wanted to do a very simple like set of stairs and then kind of like an upper stage area. I kind of struggled with the perspective, even though I have been seeing it in school. This kind of like, it's not a semester, but in this lesson, we haven't practiced perspective, so I think I was kind of rusty. But yeah, I just was doing some simple stairs, and like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to create kind of like panels in the back where you could see the lyrics, and right here the perspective looks really off, but I fix it later, so don't worry. So now I start coloring the background. I searched for various references that had the kind of lighting I wanted. I knew I wanted it to have kind of like a lot of pinkish lights and stuff, so that's the base I went with. And here I found a reference where they kind of had like candles in the projection. So I thought that looked pretty cool, so I'm just creating like a super simple candle like pattern and arranging it so it looks like, you know, a video that they created and they're putting in the screen. And I wrote some of the lyrics for Amazing Grace and pasted them in the back, and then just created like some like stock video that you might see with a song, like in a karaoke or something. And here I'm just drawing Barbara's necklace because I forgot. I decided to give her like a steel cross, and I wanted to make it look like, you know, she had just jumped or she was very like emoting a lot. So the cross, like the necklace flew around. So I was really nervous about the lighting for this piece because I knew that I wanted it to have blue and pink lighting, and I wasn't sure if I should like do that from the start. But what I ended up doing is doing a black base and then putting a blue to pink gradient and then setting the layer to multiply. And that kind of like gave me a base shadow that I could use, but later on I'm gonna add more effects of the lights. Okay, so for the lighting effect, I added a gradient again from blue to pink and set the layer to multiply, then erased some areas that I thought might not be receiving that much light and look like highlighted. And then I worked on the like rim lighting that the lines behind would give. Obviously I didn't want it to look super big. And then I made lights from blue to pink. This was my very first time doing something like this, so I think it looks a bit busy and maybe like I should have used more muted colors, but I think my intention shows through in the end, and like what I wanted to do kind of shows through. And because I wanted to put more emphasis on her face, I decided to create these spotlights as well, as if they were coming from above, and those are kind of like reflecting white light instead of pink. So yeah, I feel like the end result is a bit messy, but I hope that you guys see what I was trying to create. And when in doubt, add lens flares everywhere. I'm sure that'll make it look better. And here is the final result. Now moving on to Yanfei. So I obviously knew that Yanfei had to be a lawyer because that's what she is in the game. So, I thought of like different ways to make it look interesting, but just like writing Shogun, I feel like lawyer is not a very like visually interesting profession. So what I decided to do was look up a lot of references of like fancy, elegant clothes and give those to Yanfei, because one thing that's sticks out to me in the game is that she's a lawyer, but she wears like the most extravagant outfit on earth. So I thought like, if Yanfei was a real person and she was a real lawyer, I feel like her attitude would be very, very confident, very laid back, a bit smug, which is what I wanted to do with the facial expression. And I feel like she would keep her kind of extravagant fashion sense, because she's like a young hotshot lawyer. So I decided to give her a crop top, which would probably never happen in real life. I gave her a super fancy blazer, super fancy pants, fancy shoes, and I based everything off of her original costume, but obviously making it modern, making it elegant, but still formal. And honestly, I'm really, really happy with this drawing and the final concept. I'm very, very pleased with what I was able to create, and I was obsessed with the outfit. Honestly, it's so fun to go on fancy websites just to like window shop and take ideas for for drawing. Since this is a very simple pose as well, I decided that her foot would be resting on a bunch of documents, because lawyers have a lot of paper documents, with everything that they are going to reference on the case and everything. So I thought that would be a fun pose, and again, make her look very kind of like confident but laid back, which is kind of like the impression I get of Yanfei, and someone who's very, very confident in like her skills in her job. For her necklace, I referenced the pendant in her hat in the original costume, and I just decided to give her kind of like that necklace. And obviously the pantsuit had to be red. And the shoes, I also kept them like the original costume. They are red and black. Honestly, I would wear this in a heartbeat. I felt like it was such a cool outfit. Doing very simple shadows, nothing crazy. What I wanted to emphasize was like the blazer. I wanted to make sure that I drew lots of wrinkles. I think one of the issues I have with my drawings is that I usually don't give too many wrinkles and stuff to clothing, but I feel like this time I did quite a good job, and I do think that like the blazer actually looks heavy and like it's resting on her body, so I was happy about that. Finally, I'm just working on the stack of documents. I decided to create some very simple kind of like binders and folders and just stacks of paper, make them look like some are coming out, put some post-its on it. Nothing crazy, just something simple to give some visual interest to the piece. And here is the final result. I couldn't decide whether to give her a hat or not, so I made two variations. One of them has like antler clips to simulate her antlers, and the other has a hat. Because like in the regular world, she would be human and not an adeptus, I decided to give her like the clips to make up for her not having antlers. All right, so those were the two drawings that I did this week. Let me know what you thought. Who did you think was the best? And remember, if you want to vote on which character to make next time, please go to the poll in my community tab linked in the description box. And also leave me a comment if there's anything at all that you would like to see me draw. Last week I made a drawing challenging myself to create a different illustration from an old how to draw manga book I have, so please check it out if you haven't yet. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!